The Alchemy of Emotions, Transformative Power of Your Emotions. Written and published by Cloudy Library. Feel free to subscribe for more content. Now, let's get into the book. Introduction. In the intricate tapestry of human experience, emotions form the vibrant threads that color our lives. They shape our perceptions, influence our decisions, and define our relationships. Yet, for many of us, emotions remain an enigma, powerful forces that we often struggle to understand and control. This book, The Alchemy of Emotions, invites you on a transformative journey to unlock the hidden potential within your emotional landscape. Just as ancient alchemists sought to turn base metals into gold, we will explore how to transmute challenging emotions into sources of strength, wisdom, and personal growth. Emotional intelligence, the ability to recognize, understand, and manage our own emotions and those of others, has emerged as a crucial skill in our rapidly changing world. It's not just about feeling. It's about harnessing the power of our feelings to navigate life's complexities with greater ease and success. Through the pages of this book, we'll delve into the science behind emotions, unravel the mysteries of our emotional responses, and discover practical techniques to develop emotional mastery. You'll learn how to identify and understand your emotions with greater clarity, regulate your emotional responses in challenging situations, transform difficult emotions into catalysts for positive change, enhance your relationships through improved emotional communication, leverage your emotions to achieve personal and professional goals. Whether you're a business leader seeking to improve your team dynamics, a parent hoping to better connect with your children, or simply someone looking to live a more fulfilling life, the tools and insights in this book will empower you to tap into the transformative power of your emotions. Remember, emotional alchemy is not about suppressing or denying our feelings. Instead, it's about embracing our full emotional spectrum and learning to work with our emotions rather than against them. It's a lifelong journey of self-discovery and growth, one that can lead to profound changes in how we experience and interact with the world around us. As we embark on this exploration together, prepare to challenge your preconceptions about emotions. Open yourself to new perspectives and possibilities. The path of emotional alchemy isn't always easy, but the rewards, deeper self-understanding, more fulfilling relationships, and a greater sense of purpose and contentment are immeasurable. Let's begin the journey of transforming the lead of our challenging emotions into the gold of wisdom, resilience, and personal power. Chapter 1. Understanding the Emotional Landscape. Emotions are an integral part of the human experience, coloring our perceptions, influencing our decisions, and shaping our interactions with the world around us. Yet, despite their ubiquity and significance, emotions often remain a mystery to many of us. In this chapter, we'll embark on a journey to explore the intricate landscape of human emotions, laying the foundation for the transformative work that lies ahead. At its core, an emotion is a complex psychological state that involves three distinct components: a subjective experience, a physiological response, and a behavioral or expressive response. When we feel joy, for instance, we experience a sense of pleasure and contentment, subjective. Our heart rate might increase and we might feel a burst of energy, physiological, and we might smile or laugh, behavioral. This triad of responses occurs in a seamless, often unconscious sequence, shaping our internal state and our outward actions in a matter of moments. The purpose of emotions, from an evolutionary standpoint, is to promote survival. They serve as rapid, efficient responses to environmental stimuli, preparing us to deal with important interpersonal encounters and significant events without the need for conscious cognitive intervention. Fear, for example, triggers a fight-or-flight response that can help us react quickly to danger. Joy encourages us to repeat beneficial behaviors, while disgust helps us avoid potentially harmful substances or situations. Emotions can be broadly categorized into two types: basic and complex. Basic emotions are considered to be universally experienced across cultures and are believed to have a biological basis. While there is some debate among researchers about the exact number and nature of basic emotions, the most commonly recognized ones include joy, sadness, anger, fear, surprise, and disgust. These emotions are thought to be hardwired into our brains and bodies, emerging early in life and serving fundamental survival functions. Complex emotions, on the other hand, are thought to arise from a combination of basic emotions and are heavily influenced by cognitive processes and cultural factors. These include emotions like guilt, shame, pride, jealousy, and love. While basic emotions are relatively straightforward and universal, complex emotions can vary significantly across cultures and individuals, reflecting the intricate interplay between our innate emotional capabilities and our learned experiences and societal norms. The neurological basis of emotions is a fascinating area of study that has seen significant advancements in recent years. At the heart of our emotional experiences is the limbic system, a group of interconnected structures in the brain that includes the amygdala, hippocampus, and hypothalamus. The amygdala, in particular, plays a crucial role in emotional processing, especially in relation to fear and aggression. It acts as an emotional sentinel, constantly scanning our environment for potential threats and triggering rapid emotional responses when needed. However, emotions are not solely the domain of the limbic system. Recent research has shown that emotional processing involves a complex network of brain regions, including areas traditionally associated with cognitive functions. The prefrontal cortex, for instance, plays a key role in emotional regulation, allowing us to modulate our emotional responses based on context and social norms. This interplay between emotional and cognitive processes underscores the intricate relationship between our thoughts and feelings, a theme we'll explore further in later chapters. The physiological aspects of emotions are equally fascinating. When we experience an emotion, our body undergoes a series of changes orchestrated by the autonomic nervous system. Our heart rate may increase or decrease, our breathing may become rapid or shallow, we might start sweating, or our muscles might tense up. These bodily changes are part of what gives emotions their felt quality, the physical sensations that accompany our subjective emotional experiences. Interestingly, research has shown that these physiological responses can vary between individuals and even between cultures. For instance, studies have found differences in how Western and East Asian participants experience and express emotions physiologically. This brings us to an important point. While emotions themselves may be universal, the way we experience, express, and interpret them can be heavily influenced by our cultural background. Cultural influences on emotional expression are profound and multifaceted. Different cultures have different display rules, norms that govern when, where, and how it's appropriate to express emotions. In some cultures, for example, it's considered appropriate to express grief openly at funerals, while in others, stoicism is expected. These cultural norms shape not only how we outwardly express our emotions, but also how we internally experience them. Moreover, culture can influence which emotions are valued or discouraged. Some cultures place a high value on emotions like happiness and excitement, while others prioritize calm and contentment. These cultural attitudes can shape individuals' emotional experiences and expressions over time, leading to differences in emotional norms across societies. Language also plays a crucial role in how we conceptualize and experience emotions. Different languages have varying numbers of words for emotional states, and some emotions may not have direct translations between languages. The German word Schadenfreude, for instance, describes the pleasure derived from someone else's misfortune, a complex emotional state that doesn't have a single word equivalent in English. These linguistic differences can shape how people in different cultures think about and experience emotions. Understanding these cultural influences is crucial for developing emotional intelligence in our increasingly interconnected world. It reminds us to approach emotions, both our own and others, with curiosity and openness, recognizing that there's no one right way to feel or express emotions. The impact of emotions on decision-making and behavior cannot be overstated. Contrary to the old notion that emotions cloud judgment and that decisions should be made purely on rational grounds, modern research has shown that emotions play a vital role in effective decision-making. Patients with damage to their brain's emotional centers often struggle to make even simple decisions, highlighting the importance of emotional input in the decision-making process. Emotions serve as a kind of rapid appraisal system, quickly summarizing vast amounts of information and past experiences to guide our choices. When faced with a decision, we often rely on our emotional responses, our gut feelings, to steer us in the right direction. This emotional guidance can be particularly useful in complex or ambiguous situations where logical analysis alone may be insufficient or too time-consuming. However, while emotions can enhance decision-making, they can also lead us astray if not properly understood and managed. Strong emotions can sometimes overwhelm our rational thinking, leading to impulsive decisions we later regret. Fear might cause us to avoid beneficial opportunities, while excitement might lead us to overlook potential risks. Learning to balance emotional input with rational analysis is a key aspect of emotional intelligence and effective decision-making. Emotions also profoundly influence our behavior, often in ways we're not consciously aware of. Our emotional states can affect everything from our body language and tone of voice to our level of creativity and problem-solving abilities. Positive emotions like joy and interest tend to broaden our thought-action repertoires, encouraging exploration, play, and social connection. Negative emotions, on the other hand, often narrow our focus and prepare us for specific actions. Fear readies us to flee, anger prepares us to fight, and so on. Understanding this link between emotions and behavior is crucial for personal growth and interpersonal relationships. By becoming more aware of our emotional states and their behavioral consequences, we can gain greater control over our actions and responses. This awareness also allows us to better understand others' behaviors by considering their potential emotional motivations. As we delve deeper into the world of emotions, it's important to recognize that emotional experiences are highly individual. While we all experience the same basic emotions, the specific triggers, intensities, and expressions of these emotions can vary greatly from person to person. Our emotional responses are shaped by a complex interplay of factors including our genetics, past experiences, current circumstances, and cultural background. This individuality of emotional experience underscores the importance of emotional self-awareness, the ability to recognize and understand our own emotions. Without this foundational skill, we may find ourselves at the mercy of our emotions, reacting to situations without understanding why. Emotional self-awareness is the first step towards emotional intelligence and forms the basis for the skills we'll explore in the coming chapters. It's also worth noting that our relationship with our emotions can change over time. Through conscious effort and practice, we can learn to relate to our emotions in new ways. We can develop the ability to observe our emotions without being overwhelmed by them, to understand their messages without necessarily acting on them, and to choose our responses rather than reacting automatically. This is the essence of emotional alchemy, the transformation of our raw emotional experiences into sources of wisdom and personal growth. As we conclude this chapter, it's clear that emotions are far more than just feelings that happen to us. They are complex, multifaceted experiences that play crucial roles in our survival, decision-making, and social interactions. They are shaped by our biology, our experiences, and our culture, and in turn, they shape how we perceive and interact with the world around us. Understanding the emotional landscape is the first step in our journey of emotional alchemy. By recognizing the nature and purpose of emotions, appreciating their neurological and physiological basis, and acknowledging the role of cultural influences, we lay the groundwork for deeper emotional awareness and more effective emotional management. In the chapters that follow, we'll build on this foundation, exploring practical techniques for developing emotional self-awareness, strategies for regulating and managing our emotions, and ways to harness our emotions for personal growth and improve relationships. As we embark on this journey, remember that the goal is not to eliminate or suppress our emotions, but to work with them more skillfully, to transform them from potential sources of distress into powerful allies in our quest for a more fulfilling and authentic life. Chapter 2. Emotional Self-Awareness. Emotional self-awareness forms the cornerstone of emotional intelligence and is the crucial first step in our journey of emotional alchemy. It is the ability to recognize and understand our own emotions as they occur, to discern their causes, and to comprehend their impact on our thoughts and behaviors. Without this fundamental skill, we remain at the mercy of our emotional reactions, often feeling overwhelmed or confused by the intensity of our feelings. In this chapter, we'll explore various techniques and practices to cultivate emotional self-awareness, enabling us to navigate our inner emotional landscape with greater clarity and confidence. At its core, emotional self-awareness is about developing a keen sense of introspection. It's the practice of turning our attention inward, observing our emotional states with curiosity and without judgment. This might sound simple, but for many of us, it's a radical departure from our usual way of experiencing emotions. We're often so caught up in the external circumstances that trigger our emotions, or so focused on acting them out that we fail to truly notice and understand what we're feeling. The first step in developing emotional self-awareness is learning to recognize and name our emotions accurately. Emotions, particularly complex ones, can be subtle and nuanced, and many of us lack the vocabulary to describe them precisely. We might know we feel bad, but struggle to distinguish whether we're feeling sad, disappointed, anxious, or something else entirely. Expanding our emotional vocabulary is thus a crucial part of developing emotional self-awareness. One effective technique for building this skill is to practice regularly checking in with yourself throughout the day. Take a moment to pause and ask yourself, what am I feeling right now? Try to go beyond simple labels like good or bad and search for more specific descriptors. Are you feeling serene, excited, irritated, wistful? The more precise you can be, the better you'll understand your emotional state. It can be helpful to use an emotion wheel or list of emotion words as a reference when you're starting out. These tools provide a wide range of emotion terms, often organized by intensity or similarity, which can help you pinpoint your feelings more accurately. Over time, as you practice this skill, you'll find it becomes easier to identify and name your emotions with greater nuance and precision. As you become more adept at recognizing your emotions, you'll likely start to notice patterns in your emotional responses. Certain situations, people, or even thoughts might consistently trigger particular emotional reactions. Identifying these patterns is a crucial aspect of emotional self-awareness, as it allows you to anticipate and prepare for emotional responses rather than being caught off guard by them. One powerful tool for uncovering these patterns is journaling. By regularly writing about your emotional experiences, you create a record that you can look back on to identify recurring themes and triggers. Try to write not just about what you're feeling, but also about the circumstances surrounding those feelings. What was happening when the emotion arose? What thoughts were going through your mind? The more context you can provide, the easier it will be to spot patterns over time. Another important aspect of emotional self-awareness is understanding the connection between our emotions and our bodies. Emotions are not just mental experiences. They have profound physical manifestations as well. Each emotion tends to have its own unique physical signature, a pattern of bodily sensations that accompanies it. For instance, anxiety might manifest as a tightness in your chest, a knot in your stomach, or a tension in your shoulders. Joy might be felt as a lightness in your body, a warmth in your chest, or a relaxation of your facial muscles. By learning to recognize these physical cues, you can often identify your emotions even before you've consciously registered them. To develop this body emotion awareness, try practicing regular body scans. This involves systematically focusing your attention on different parts of your body, noticing any sensations present. As you do this, also pay attention to any emotions that arise. Over time, you'll start to recognize the connections between certain bodily sensations and specific emotional states. Mindfulness meditation is another powerful tool for developing emotional self-awareness. At its essence, mindfulness is about paying attention to your present moment experience without judgment. When applied to emotions, this practice involves observing your feelings as they arise, acknowledging them without trying to change or suppress them, and then letting them pass. Regular mindfulness practice can dramatically increase your emotional self-awareness. It helps you develop the ability to step back from your emotions, observing them almost as if you were a third party. This creates a space between the emotion and your reaction to it, giving you more choice in how you respond. To begin incorporating mindfulness into your emotional awareness practice, try setting aside a few minutes each day for a simple meditation. Sit comfortably, close your eyes, and focus on your breath. As thoughts and emotions arise, simply notice them without getting caught up in them. If you find yourself getting distracted, gently bring your attention back to your breath. Over time, you'll find that this ability to observe your emotions without immediately reacting to them begins to extend into your everyday life. As we develop greater emotional self-awareness, it's important to remember that our current emotional responses are often shaped by our past experiences. Our personal histories, particularly our early childhood experiences, play a significant role in determining how we react emotionally to different situations. For example, someone who experienced frequent criticism as a child might be particularly sensitive to perceived disapproval as an adult, reacting with intense feelings of shame or anger even to mild critique. Understanding these emotional patterns and their origins can be a powerful tool for personal growth and change. Exploring the connection between your past experiences and your current emotional responses can be challenging work, and it's often helpful to do this with the guidance of a therapist or counselor. However, there are also ways to begin this exploration on your own. Reflective journaling can be a useful tool here. Try writing about significant emotional experiences from your past, paying attention to how those experiences might be influencing your current emotional patterns. It's also important to recognize that while our past experiences shape our emotional responses, they don't have to define them. With awareness and practice, we can learn to respond to situations based on our present reality rather than past conditioning. This is where the transformative power of emotional alchemy truly comes into play. Another crucial aspect of emotional self-awareness is recognizing the difference between primary and secondary emotions. Primary emotions are our immediate, instinctive emotional responses to a situation. Secondary emotions are our reactions to our primary emotions. For example, imagine you make a mistake at work. Your primary emotion might be disappointment in yourself. But if you believe that you shouldn't feel disappointed, you might then feel angry at yourself for feeling disappointed. This anger is a secondary emotion. Secondary emotions often cloud our understanding of our true feelings and can lead to confusing and intensified emotional states. By developing the awareness to distinguish between primary and secondary emotions, we can better understand our core emotional experiences and respond to them more effectively. As you work on developing your emotional self-awareness, it's crucial to approach this process with self-compassion. It's common to discover aspects of your emotional life that you find uncomfortable or that you wish were different. You might realize that you get angry more easily than you'd like, or that you often feel anxious in situations where others seem comfortable. It's important to remember that all emotions serve a purpose, even the ones we typically label as negative. Anger can motivate us to address injustice, fear can keep us safe from genuine threats, and sadness can help us process loss and connect with others. Rather than judging your emotions as good or bad, try to approach them with curiosity. What is this emotion trying to tell you? What need is it pointing to? Cultivating this non-judgmental, compassionate attitude towards your emotions is itself a powerful tool for emotional growth. It allows you to explore your feelings more fully without the fear of what you might discover. This openness and acceptance is key to the transformative process of emotional alchemy. As you continue to develop your emotional self-awareness, you may find that your relationship with your emotions begins to shift. Rather than feeling at the mercy of your emotional states, you may start to see them as valuable sources of information about yourself and your environment. You might begin to welcome even difficult emotions as opportunities for growth and self-understanding. This shift represents a fundamental change in how we relate to our emotional lives. Instead of trying to control or suppress our emotions, we learn to work with them, to listen to their messages, and to use them as guides for our actions and decisions. Remember, developing emotional self-awareness is an ongoing process. It's not about reaching a final destination where you perfectly understand every nuance of your emotional experience. Rather, it's about cultivating a continual practice of self-reflection and emotional attunement. As you move forward, continue to check in with yourself regularly. Notice your emotions as they arise throughout the day. Pay attention to the sensations in your body. Practice naming your feelings with greater precision. Explore the patterns in your emotional responses and their connections to your past experiences. And above all, approach this exploration with curiosity and compassion. By developing a deeper awareness of your emotions, you lay the groundwork for the emotional regulation and management skills we'll explore in the next chapter. You're taking the crucial first step in the alchemical process of transforming your emotions from potential sources of distress into powerful allies for personal growth and fulfillment. As we conclude this chapter, take a moment to reflect on your journey so far. How has your understanding of your emotional landscape changed? What new insights have you gained about your emotional patterns and responses? Remember, Every step you take in developing your emotional self-awareness is a step towards greater emotional intelligence and a more authentic, fulfilling life. Chapter 3. Emotional Regulation and Management. Having developed a foundation of emotional self-awareness, we now turn our attention to the crucial skills of emotional regulation and management. These abilities allow us to navigate the often turbulent waters of our emotional lives with greater ease and effectiveness. Emotional regulation involves modifying the intensity or duration of an emotional state, while emotional management encompasses a broader set of strategies for working with our emotions in productive ways. At its core, emotional regulation is not about suppressing or denying our emotions. Rather, it's about developing the capacity to experience our emotions fully while maintaining a sense of balance and control. It's the difference between being swept away by a tidal wave of anger and acknowledging the anger while choosing how to respond to it. This skill is fundamental to emotional intelligence and plays a vital role in our personal and professional lives. One of the most powerful strategies for emotional regulation is cognitive reframing. This technique involves changing our interpretation of a situation, which in turn can alter our emotional response to it. Our emotions are not solely determined by events themselves, but by how we perceive and interpret those events. By consciously shifting our perspective, we can often change our emotional reactions. For example, imagine you're stuck in heavy traffic. Your initial reaction might be frustration or anger, viewing the situation as a waste of your valuable time. However, by reframing the situation, you might choose to see it as an unexpected opportunity for reflection or as a chance to listen to an interesting podcast. This shift in perspective can transform your emotional experience from one of stress to one of calm or even enjoyment. Practicing cognitive reframing requires mindfulness and effort, especially at first. Start by noticing when you're experiencing a strong negative emotion. Then, challenge your initial interpretation of the situation. Are there other ways to view what's happening? What might a neutral observer think about this situation? By regularly practicing this technique, you'll find that it becomes easier to shift your perspective in the moment, giving you greater control over your emotional responses. Another powerful tool for emotional regulation is the use of mindfulness and meditation techniques. These practices help us develop the ability to observe our thoughts and emotions without immediately reacting to them. This creates a space between stimulus and response, allowing us to choose how we want to engage with our emotions rather than being driven by them automatically. A simple but effective mindfulness technique is the practice of noting. When you notice a strong emotion arising, simply label it in your mind. This is anger. This is anxiety. This is excitement. This act of naming helps to create a bit of distance from the emotion, reducing its power over you and giving you more choice in how to respond. Breathwork is another valuable technique for emotional regulation. Our breath is intimately connected to our emotional state, and by consciously controlling our breathing, we can influence our emotions. When we're anxious or stressed, our breathing tends to become shallow and rapid. By deliberately slowing and deepening our breath, we can activate the parasympathetic nervous system, which helps to calm our body and mind. A simple breathing exercise you can practice anywhere is the 4-7-8 technique. Inhale quietly through your nose for a count of 4, hold your breath for a count of 7, then exhale completely through your mouth for a count of 8. Repeat this cycle 4 times. This technique can be particularly helpful in moments of acute stress or anxiety, helping to restore a sense of calm and balance. While these techniques can be powerful tools for managing intense emotions in the moment, emotional regulation also involves developing longer-term strategies for maintaining emotional balance. This is where the concept of emotional resilience comes into play. Emotional resilience is the ability to adapt to stressful situations and bounce back from adversity. It's not about avoiding negative emotions, but about developing the strength to work through them effectively. Building emotional resilience involves several key components. First, it requires developing a realistic and flexible thinking style. This means avoiding black and white thinking and catastrophizing, and instead cultivating the ability to see nuances and possibilities in difficult situations. It also involves building a strong support network of relationships, as social connections play a crucial role in our emotional well-being. Another important aspect of emotional resilience is self-care. This includes basic lifestyle factors like getting enough sleep, eating a balanced diet, and engaging in regular physical exercise. These foundational habits provide the energy and stability necessary for effective emotional regulation. Additionally, engaging in activities that bring you joy and relaxation, whether that's reading, gardening, playing music, or any other hobby, can help build your emotional reserves, making you better equipped to handle stress when it arises. Developing emotional resilience also involves learning to accept and work with uncomfortable emotions rather than trying to avoid them. This ties back to the mindfulness practices we discussed earlier. By learning to sit with difficult emotions without being overwhelmed by them, we develop greater emotional strength and flexibility. As we work on regulating and managing our emotions, it's important to remember that the goal is not to eliminate negative emotions entirely. All emotions, even those we typically label as negative, serve important functions. Anger can motivate us to address injustice, fear can alert us to potential dangers, and sadness can help us process loss and connect with others. The aim of emotional regulation is not to suppress these emotions, but to experience them in balanced and productive ways. This brings us to an important point: the relationship between emotion and logic in decision-making. Traditionally, emotions were often seen as obstacles to good decision-making, with the ideal being purely rational, emotionless choices. However, modern neuroscience has shown that emotions play a crucial role in effective decision-making. Patients with damage to the emotional centers of their brains often struggle to make even simple decisions, highlighting the importance of emotional input in the decision-making process. The key is to strike a balance between emotional input and logical analysis. Our emotions can provide valuable intuitive insights, quickly summarizing vast amounts of information and past experiences. However, unchecked emotions can also lead us astray, causing us to make impulsive decisions we later regret. Effective emotional management involves learning to use our emotions as information to inform our decisions, while also applying logical analysis to ensure we're not being unduly swayed by temporary emotional states. One technique for balancing emotion and logic in decision-making is the use of a decision journal. When faced with an important decision, take the time to write out your thoughts and feelings about the situation. Note your emotional reactions, but also force yourself to list out the logical pros and cons. This process can help you see where your emotions might be influencing your thinking and where a more balanced approach might be beneficial. Another important aspect of emotional management is learning to work with emotional triggers. These are situations, people, or events that tend to provoke strong emotional reactions in us, often tied to past experiences or deep-seated beliefs. By identifying our emotional triggers, we can begin to prepare for them and develop strategies to manage our reactions more effectively. Start by reflecting on situations where you've experienced intense emotional reactions. Look for patterns. Are there particular types of situations or interactions that tend to provoke strong responses? Once you've identified your triggers, you can begin to develop specific strategies for managing them. This might involve using the cognitive reframing techniques we discussed earlier, preparing calming self-talk to use in triggering situations, or in some cases, finding ways to limit your exposure to triggers when possible. As we develop our emotional regulation and management skills, it's important to remember that this is not about achieving perfect control over our emotions. Emotions are a fundamental part of the human experience, and trying to exert too much control can lead to suppression and other unhealthy coping mechanisms. Instead, the goal is to develop a flexible, adaptive relationship with our emotions, to be able to experience them fully while also maintaining the ability to choose our responses. This flexibility is key to the concept of emotional agility, a term coined by psychologist Susan David. Emotional agility involves being able to navigate the full range of human emotions with self-acceptance, clarity, and an open mind. It's about facing our inner experiences with curiosity and compassion, and using the insights gained to inform our actions in alignment with our values. Developing emotional agility involves several key steps. First, we need to face our emotions willingly, without trying to avoid or suppress them. This ties back to the mindfulness practices we discussed earlier. Next, we need to step out of our emotions, viewing them with some distance and perspective. This is where techniques like cognitive reframing come into play. Finally, we need to move forward in ways that align with our deeper values and goals, using the insights gained from our emotions to inform our choices. As we conclude this chapter on emotional regulation and management, it's worth reflecting on the journey we've undertaken. We've explored a range of techniques and strategies, from cognitive reframing and mindfulness practices to breathing exercises and decision-making tools. We've discussed the importance of emotional resilience and the need to balance emotion and logic in our decision-making processes. And we've touched on the concept of emotional agility as a framework for developing a more flexible, adaptive relationship with our emotions. Remember, developing these skills is an ongoing process. It requires patience, practice, and self-compassion. There will be times when you struggle to regulate your emotions effectively, and that's okay. Each challenge is an opportunity for learning and growth. The key is to approach your emotional experiences with curiosity and openness, always seeking to understand and work with your emotions rather than against them. As you move forward, continue to practice the techniques we've discussed. Pay attention to your emotional triggers and experiment with different strategies for managing them. Work on building your emotional resilience through self-care and supportive relationships. And above all, strive for balance. Not the elimination of negative emotions, but the ability to experience the full range of human emotions in healthy, productive ways. In the next chapter, we'll explore how these emotional regulation and management skills can be applied in our relationships with others, enhancing our ability to connect, communicate, and collaborate effectively. But for now, take a moment to appreciate the progress you've made in developing greater mastery over your emotional life. You're well on your way to transforming your emotions from potential sources of distress into powerful allies for personal growth and fulfillment. Chapter 4. Emotional Alchemy in Relationships. The journey of emotional alchemy takes on a new dimension when we apply our growing emotional intelligence to our relationships with others. Our interactions with family, friends, colleagues, and even strangers are profoundly shaped by our emotional experiences and expressions. By harnessing the power of emotional awareness and regulation in our relationships, we can forge deeper connections, navigate conflicts more effectively, and create a more harmonious social environment. At the heart of emotional alchemy in relationships lies the skill of empathy. Empathy is the ability to understand and share the feelings of another person. It's about stepping into someone else's shoes, seeing the world from their perspective, and connecting with their emotional experience. Empathy forms the foundation of meaningful relationships and is crucial for effective communication and conflict resolution. Developing empathy begins with active listening. This means fully focusing on the other person when they're speaking, rather than simply waiting for your turn to talk or formulating your response. Active listening involves not just hearing the words being said, but also paying attention to tone of voice, body language, and the emotions underlying the message. It requires setting aside your own judgments and preconceptions to truly understand the other person's perspective. To practice active listening, try to give your full attention to the speaker. Put away distractions like your phone or computer. Make eye contact and use nonverbal cues like nodding to show you're engaged. Reflect back what you've heard to ensure you've understood correctly, using phrases like, "So what I'm hearing is," or "It sounds like you're feeling." This not only helps to clarify the message, but also demonstrates to the speaker that you're truly listening and trying to understand. Another crucial aspect of empathy is emotional validation. This involves acknowledging and accepting another person's feelings, even if you don't agree with the reasons behind those feelings or would feel differently in the same situation. Validation doesn't mean you have to agree with everything the person says or does, but it does mean recognizing that their emotions are real and valid for them. For example, if a friend is upset about not getting a promotion at work, you might say something like, "I can see why you're feeling disappointed. It's natural to feel that way when something you've worked hard for doesn't pan out." This validates their feelings without necessarily agreeing that they should have gotten the promotion or that the decision was unfair. As we develop our empathy skills, it's important to remember that empathy is not about taking on other people's emotions as our own. This is a common misconception that can lead to emotional burnout. Instead, empathy involves understanding and acknowledging others' emotions while maintaining our own emotional boundaries. It's about being with someone in their emotional experience, not taking on that experience as our own. Moving beyond empathy, another crucial skill for emotional alchemy in relationships is effective emotional communication. This involves not only expressing our own emotions clearly and constructively, but also creating an environment where others feel safe to express their emotions. One key aspect of emotional communication is the use of I statements. Instead of saying, "You made me angry," which can sound accusatory and often leads to defensiveness, try saying, "I feel angry when." This puts the focus on your own emotional experience rather than blaming the other person. It opens up the possibility for dialogue rather than conflict. For example, instead of saying, "You never listen to me," you might say, "I feel frustrated and unimportant when I'm talking and you're looking at your phone." This not only expresses your emotion more clearly, but also provides specific information about the behavior that's triggering that emotion, giving the other person a clear understanding of how their actions are affecting you. Another important aspect of emotional communication is nonverbal expression. Our body language, facial expressions, and tone of voice often communicate more about our emotional state than our words do. Becoming more aware of our nonverbal communication and learning to align it with our verbal messages can greatly enhance our ability to connect with others emotionally. As we improve our emotional communication skills, we also need to work on creating an emotional safe space in our relationships. This means fostering an environment where all emotions are accepted and can be expressed without fear of judgment or rejection. It involves responding to others' emotional expressions with empathy and validation, even when those emotions are difficult or uncomfortable. Creating this kind of emotional safe space requires patience and consistency. It means responding calmly and supportively even when someone expresses anger or frustration towards us. It involves being willing to sit with discomfort rather than rushing to fix or change someone else's emotional state. Over time, this approach can lead to deeper, more authentic relationships where all parties feel truly seen and understood. Of course, even with strong empathy and communication skills, conflicts are an inevitable part of any relationship. This is where our emotional regulation skills become particularly crucial. By managing our own emotions effectively during conflicts, we can navigate disagreements more constructively and find solutions that work for all parties involved. One key strategy for managing emotions during conflicts is to take a time out when emotions are running high. This doesn't mean storming off or giving the silent treatment, but rather calmly explaining that you need a few minutes to collect your thoughts and regulate your emotions. During this time, you can use the breathing techniques and cognitive reframing strategies we discussed in the previous chapter to calm yourself and gain perspective on the situation. When you return to the conversation, try to approach it with curiosity rather than defensiveness. Seek to understand the other person's perspective fully before trying to explain your own. Use reflective listening techniques to ensure you're accurately understanding their point of view. And remember to keep the focus on finding a solution rather than proving who's right or wrong. Another powerful tool for navigating conflicts is the practice of compassionate confrontation. This involves addressing issues directly but with empathy and care for the other person's feelings. It means being honest about your own needs and boundaries while also remaining open to understanding and addressing the other person's needs. For example, if a colleague consistently interrupts you during meetings, a compassionate confrontation might sound like this. "I've noticed that you often speak up while I'm talking in meetings. I understand you have valuable contributions to make, but when this happens, I feel frustrated and like my ideas aren't being heard. Could we discuss how we can both share our ideas effectively in meetings?" This approach addresses the issue directly while acknowledging the other person's positive intentions and inviting collaborative problem-solving rather than blame or criticism. As we develop these skills for emotional alchemy in relationships, it's important to recognize the profound impact that emotions have on leadership and teamwork. Whether in a professional context or in our personal lives, our ability to understand and work with emotions can greatly enhance our effectiveness as leaders and team members. Emotional intelligence in leadership involves not only managing our own emotions effectively, but also being attuned to the emotions of those we lead. It means creating an environment where team members feel emotionally safe to express ideas, take risks, and admit mistakes. It involves using empathy to understand the challenges and motivations of team members, and using that understanding to inspire and guide them effectively. For example, a leader with high emotional intelligence might notice that a team member seems unusually quiet or withdrawn during a meeting. Instead of ignoring this or assuming the person is being uncooperative, The leader might check in privately after the meeting, expressing concern and offering support if needed. This kind of emotional awareness and responsiveness can greatly enhance team cohesion and productivity. In teamwork, emotional intelligence plays a crucial role in fostering collaboration and resolving conflicts. Teams that have a high level of collective emotional intelligence tend to be more creative, more effective at problem-solving, and more resilient in the face of challenges. This is because they're able to harness the power of diverse perspectives while managing the interpersonal dynamics that can sometimes derail team efforts. One powerful practice for enhancing emotional intelligence in teams is the use of emotion check-ins at the beginning of meetings or work sessions. This involves each team member briefly sharing how they're feeling and perhaps one thing that's influencing their emotional state. This practice not only helps team members understand and support each other better, but also normalizes the discussion of emotions in the workplace. As we cultivate these skills for emotional alchemy in relationships, it's crucial to remember the importance of self-compassion. Working with emotions in relationships can be challenging, and there will inevitably be times when we fall short of our ideals. Perhaps we react with anger when we meant to respond with empathy, or we fail to pick up on someone else's emotional cues. In these moments, it's important to treat ourselves with the same kindness and understanding that we're striving to offer others. Recognize that developing emotional intelligence is a lifelong journey, and every misstep is an opportunity for learning and growth. By extending compassion to ourselves, we replenish our emotional resources and become better able to extend that compassion to others. As we conclude this chapter on emotional alchemy in relationships, take a moment to reflect on the connections in your life. How might the skills and strategies we've discussed enhance your interactions with family, friends, colleagues, and even strangers? Consider choosing one relationship to focus on, applying the principles of empathy, effective communication, and compassionate conflict resolution we've explored. Remember, the goal of emotional alchemy in relationships is not to create perfect, conflict-free interactions. Rather, it's about developing the ability to navigate the full range of human emotions and experiences in our connections with others. It's about creating relationships characterized by authenticity, mutual understanding, and shared growth. As you move forward, continue to practice these skills in your daily interactions. Pay attention to the emotions present in your conversations and relationships. Practice active listening and empathy. Work on expressing your own emotions clearly and constructively. And when conflicts arise, approach them as opportunities for deeper understanding and connection rather than as battles to be won. In our final chapter, we'll explore how to integrate all these emotional alchemy skills into a cohesive practice for personal growth and fulfillment. But for now, celebrate the progress you've made in transforming your emotional landscape, not just within yourself, but in your relationships with others. You're well on your way to creating more meaningful, authentic, and emotionally rich connections in all areas of your life. Chapter 5. Transforming Emotions into Personal Growth. As we reach the final chapter of our exploration into emotional alchemy, we turn our attention to the ultimate goal of this journey, transforming our emotions into catalysts for personal growth and self-actualization. The skills and insights we've gathered throughout this book, from developing emotional self-awareness to managing our emotions and navigating relationships, all converge in this transformative process. In this chapter, we'll explore how to harness the power of our emotions to drive positive change in our lives, achieve our goals, and cultivate a deeper sense of fulfillment and purpose. At the heart of emotional transformation is the recognition that our emotions, even the challenging ones, can serve as powerful teachers and guides. Each emotional experience carries within it the potential for growth, self-discovery, and positive change. The key lies in our ability to approach our emotions with curiosity and openness, seeking to understand their messages and leverage their energy constructively. Let's begin by examining how we can transform some of our most challenging emotions into forces for positive change. Fear, for instance, is an emotion that many of us struggle with. It can be paralyzing, holding us back from pursuing our dreams or taking necessary risks. However, when approached with the right mindset, fear can be transformed into courage. The first step in this transformation is to acknowledge and accept the fear, rather than trying to suppress or ignore it. By fully feeling and exploring our fear, we can often uncover important information about our values, desires, and the perceived obstacles in our path. Once we've acknowledged our fear, we can begin to reframe it. Instead of seeing fear as a sign that we shouldn't proceed, we can view it as an indication that we're pushing beyond our comfort zone, a necessary step for growth. We can ask ourselves, what would I do if I weren't afraid? Or, what's the worst that could happen, and how would I handle it? These questions help us to put our fears into perspective and begin to see the potential for growth on the other side of our fear. The transformation of fear into courage doesn't mean the absence of fear, but rather the willingness to act despite the presence of fear. Each time we take action in the face of our fears, we build our courage muscle, making it easier to face future challenges. Over time, we may find that situations that once terrified us now feel manageable or even exciting. Anger is another emotion that often gets a bad rap, but when transformed, it can become a powerful force for assertiveness and positive change. The key to this transformation lies in understanding the underlying needs or values that our anger is pointing to. Anger often arises when we perceive that something important to us, our rights, our values, our boundaries, is being threatened or violated. By exploring our anger with curiosity rather than judgment, we can uncover these underlying needs and values. Once we've identified what's truly important to us, we can channel the energy of our anger into assertive communication and constructive action. This might involve setting clear boundaries, advocating for change, or standing up for our rights or the rights of others. For example, if we find ourselves feeling angry about a social injustice, we can transform that anger into motivation to get involved in activism or community service. If we're angry about a situation at work, we can use that energy to have a constructive conversation with our supervisor or to spearhead improvements in our workplace. The key is to move from reactive anger to proactive assertiveness, using the energy of our anger to create positive change rather than to lash out or withdraw. Sadness, too, can be transformed into a force for growth and connection. Often, we try to avoid or quickly move past feelings of sadness, viewing them as purely negative. However, sadness can be a powerful tool for introspection and emotional healing. When we allow ourselves to fully experience and explore our sadness, we often uncover important insights about what truly matters to us, what we've lost, or what's missing in our lives. Moreover, sadness can be a catalyst for deepening our connections with others. When we're willing to be vulnerable and share our sadness, we often find that others respond with empathy and support, strengthening our relationships. Sadness can also motivate us to make changes in our lives, spurring us to pursue what truly brings us joy and fulfillment. As we work on transforming our challenging emotions, it's equally important to harness the power of positive emotions. Emotions like joy, gratitude, and love can be powerful catalysts for personal growth and well-being. The field of positive psychology has shown that cultivating positive emotions can enhance our resilience, broaden our perspective, and increase our overall life satisfaction. One way to harness the power of positive emotions is through the practice of savoring. This involves fully experiencing and extending our positive emotional states. When you're feeling joyful or grateful, take a moment to really sink into that feeling. Notice the physical sensations in your body, the thoughts in your mind. Try to extend the experience by sharing it with others or writing about it in a journal. By savoring positive emotions, we not only enhance our immediate experience, but also build our capacity for future positive emotions. Gratitude, in particular, can be a powerful tool for personal growth. Regular gratitude practice has been shown to increase happiness, improve relationships, and even enhance physical health. Try starting each day by noting 3 things you're grateful for, or ending each day by reflecting on the positive experiences you've had. Over time, this practice can shift your perspective, helping you to notice and appreciate the good in your life more readily. As we cultivate our ability to transform emotions into personal growth, it's important to recognize the role of emotional intelligence in goal achievement. Our emotions can either hinder or support our efforts to reach our goals, depending on how we work with them. By developing our emotional intelligence, we can better align our emotional states with our goals and use our emotions as fuel for achievement. One key aspect of this is emotional self-regulation. When working towards a goal, we often encounter obstacles or setbacks that can trigger frustration, disappointment, or discouragement. By applying the emotional regulation techniques we've explored earlier in this book, we can manage these challenging emotions effectively, maintaining our motivation and focus even in the face of difficulties. Additionally, we can use our emotions as valuable feedback about our goals and our progress towards them. Positive emotions like excitement and satisfaction can signal that we're on the right track, while negative emotions like boredom or anxiety might indicate that we need to reassess our goals or our approach. By tuning into these emotional cues, we can make more informed decisions about our goals and adjust our strategies as needed. Another powerful way to transform emotions into personal growth is through the practice of emotional journaling. This involves regularly writing about our emotional experiences, exploring not just what we're feeling but why we're feeling it and what it might be telling us. Emotional journaling can help us to identify patterns in our emotional responses, uncover underlying beliefs or values, and track our progress in emotional growth over time. When engaging in emotional journaling, try to go beyond simply recording your emotions. Ask yourself probing questions. What triggered this emotion? What thoughts accompanied it? How did I respond? And was that response helpful? What might this emotion be trying to tell me? What can I learn from this experience? By delving deeper into our emotional experiences in this way, we can gain valuable insights and identify areas for growth and change. As we work on transforming our emotions into personal growth, it's crucial to develop a growth mindset around our emotional experiences. This means viewing our emotions not as fixed traits or inevitable reactions, but as skills that we can develop and refine over time. With a growth mindset, we see each emotional challenge as an opportunity for learning and improvement, rather than as a personal failing or an insurmountable obstacle. This growth mindset applies not just to challenging emotions, but to our overall emotional intelligence. We can always improve our ability to recognize, understand, and work with our emotions. Each interaction, each emotional experience, becomes an opportunity for practice and growth. By approaching our emotional life with this mindset, we open ourselves up to continuous improvement and transformation. As we near the end of our journey through emotional alchemy, it's time to consider how to integrate all these concepts and practices into a cohesive personal growth plan. This plan should be tailored to your individual needs, goals, and emotional landscape, but here are some key elements to consider. Regular emotional check-ins. Set aside time each day to tune into your emotional state. What are you feeling? Why might you be feeling this way? How can you work with these emotions constructively? Intentional emotion cultivation. Identify emotions that you'd like to experience more frequently, e.g., gratitude, joy, calm, and design practices to cultivate these emotions regularly. Emotional challenge practice. Choose one challenging emotion to focus on transforming. Set specific goals for how you'd like to work with this emotion and track your progress over time. Relationship focus. Select one or two key relationships in which to practice your emotional intelligence skills. This might involve working on empathy, improving your emotional communication, or practicing compassionate conflict resolution. Goal alignment. Review your personal and professional goals through the lens of emotional intelligence. How can you better leverage your emotions to support your goal achievement? What emotional skills might you need to develop to reach your goals? Continuous learning. Commit to ongoing education about emotions and emotional intelligence. This might involve reading books, attending workshops, or working with a coach or therapist. Remember, the goal of this personal growth plan is not to achieve perfect emotional control or to eliminate negative emotions. Rather, it's about developing a more conscious, intentional relationship with your emotions, leveraging them as tools for growth and transformation. As we conclude this chapter and this book, take a moment to reflect on the journey you've undertaken. From developing emotional self-awareness to learning strategies for emotional regulation, from enhancing your relationships through emotional intelligence to transforming your emotions into catalysts for personal growth, you've acquired a powerful set of tools for emotional alchemy. Remember that this journey of emotional transformation is ongoing. There will be challenges and setbacks along the way, but each experience is an opportunity for growth and learning. Approach your emotional life with curiosity, compassion, and a commitment to continuous improvement. As you do so, you'll find that your emotions become not just more manageable, but truly transformative, powerful allies in your quest for a more fulfilling, authentic, and meaningful life. Your emotions are a fundamental part of who you are, a source of wisdom, energy, and connection. By engaging in the practice of emotional alchemy, you're not just managing your emotions, you're transforming your entire experience of life. You're turning the lead of challenging emotional experiences into the gold of personal growth, deeper relationships, and a more vibrant, authentic way of being in the world. As you move forward from here, carry with you the knowledge that you have the power to work with your emotions in new and transformative ways. Trust in your capacity for growth and change. And above all, remain curious about your emotional experiences, for within them lies the potential for profound transformation and a life of deep fulfillment and purpose. Conclusion. As we reach the end of our exploration into the transformative power of emotions, it's important to reflect on the journey we've undertaken together. Throughout this book, we've delved deep into the intricate landscape of human emotions, uncovering their hidden potential and learning how to harness their power for personal growth and fulfillment. We began by laying the foundation of emotional self-awareness, learning to recognize and understand our emotions with greater clarity and depth. We then explored strategies for emotional regulation and management, developing the ability to work with our emotions more skillfully, even in challenging situations. Our journey took us into the realm of relationships, where we discovered how emotional intelligence can enhance our connections with others and improve our ability to navigate conflicts constructively. Finally, we explored how to transform our emotions into catalysts for personal growth, turning even our most challenging emotional experiences into opportunities for learning and positive change. The practice of emotional alchemy, as we've discovered, is not about achieving perfect control over our emotions or eliminating negative feelings altogether. Rather, it's about developing a more conscious, intentional relationship with our full range of emotions. It's about learning to see our emotions not as obstacles to be overcome, but as valuable sources of information and energy that can guide us towards a more authentic and fulfilling life. As you move forward from here, remember that the journey of emotional transformation is ongoing. There will be challenges and setbacks along the way, moments when you find yourself overwhelmed by emotion or falling back into old patterns. In these moments, be kind to yourself. Remember that each emotional experience, whether pleasant or difficult, is an opportunity for growth and learning. Continue to practice the skills and techniques we've explored in this book. Regular emotional check-ins, mindfulness practices, cognitive reframing, and empathetic communication are all powerful tools that can support your ongoing emotional growth. Consider keeping an emotional journal to track your progress and insights over time. Remember, too, that you don't have to undertake this journey alone. Share what you've learned with others, practice your new skills in your relationships, and don't hesitate to seek support when you need it, whether from friends, family, or professional counselors. As you continue to engage in the practice of emotional alchemy, you may find that your entire experience of life begins to shift. You may discover a greater sense of balance and resilience in the face of life's challenges. Your relationships may become deeper and more satisfying. You may find yourself more able to pursue your goals and dreams, guided by a clearer understanding of your true desires and values. Most importantly, you may discover a deeper sense of authenticity and alignment with your true self. By embracing and working skillfully with your full range of emotions, you open the door to a more vibrant, meaningful, and fulfilling way of being in the world. The power to transform your emotional life, and through it, your entire life experience, lies within you. Trust in your capacity for growth and change. Remain curious about your emotional experiences, for within them lies the potential for profound transformation. As you close this book, know that you are equipped with the knowledge and tools to continue your journey of emotional alchemy. You have the power to turn the lead of challenging emotional experiences into the gold of personal growth, deeper relationships, and a more authentic way of being. May your ongoing journey of emotional transformation bring you greater wisdom, deeper connections, and a profound sense of fulfillment and purpose. Remember, every emotion you experience is an opportunity for alchemy, a chance to transform your inner landscape and, in doing so, to transform your world.